Vayehi li lishua ozi vezimrat ya Vayehi li lishua ozi vezimrat ya Vayehi li lishua ozi bezimrat ya Vayehi li lishua ozi bezimrat ya Vayehi li lishua ozi bezimrat ya Vayehi li lishua. Boker Tov, good morning. It's one of those hard mornings to be here together, thinking about yesterday when news came across. The news that maybe some of us were thinking, yet we were still holding on to hope. Thinking yesterday between my classes, finding out what was happening and getting ready to teach for the afternoon, I was thinking I should send out some sort of message, some sort of something. I should get on here and say something. But what is there to say? To say that it's heartbreaking, that it's devastating, to say that this was what we were, praying wouldn't be the news that we've heard. And so, news that comes across that says at least 32 of the 136 hostages held in Gaza are dead. And then to top it off, maybe around 20 more of them that were never alive after October 7th. That they were already killed, but yet brought to Gaza. And so I couldn't help but think when they said that the families of those that were confirmed dead, that all of the families were notified. I couldn't help but thinking about the Nutras right here from Plainview, whose son is held in captivity, or Hirsch, or any of the other ones that are the local people. Imagining the thought of receiving that phone call, or being grateful that they weren't called, but having heartbreak for those that have become their family at this point, traveling this kind of journey together. And so it is disheartening, it is heavy news, it is hard to hold. And for many of us, like I said, we feared that this would be the case. But as Jews, we just, continue to hope, because that's what we've been taught. That's what we know to do, is to pray for safety, to pray for peace, to pray for healing, and to hold on to hope. And so for many of us, we're trying to balance holding hope and grieving and mourning and worrying about the reality of what could be. And so on Monday night, there was a program at the JCC, and it was a wonderful time for us to be together. There was, I don't know, I'm going to say 150-ish people. And I'm always curious as to how many people are going to show up. Is the crowd less than, the 800 the second day out of of the horror of October 7th? Is it because it was a Monday, it wasn't a good day, because people are sick, because people had other commitments? You never know how many people are going to be there. But in truth, as we've said since March 14th, 2020, we've said that if we reach even one person, right? It says if you save one life, it's like you've saved the entire world. That's what we're taught. And so to come on here, whether we're, however many people we are on the live, or whether we watch it at a different time, it doesn't matter, because if one of us connects, if we connect with one person, then we're doing our job in the world. And I think at this moment, one of my students pointed out, and I had a conversation with a few friends and one colleague yesterday, that where is the news? A student said to me last night, he's in 8th grade, he said, Rabbi Jen, can you update us a little bit on what's going on in Israel? Because I don't see anything anymore on my social media. And I said, well, unfortunately, what you were seeing on your social media was a lot of us posting and reposting and trying to get the word out. And some of us, myself included, have found ourselves less engaged in the posting and reposting. Perhaps praying harder, perhaps questioning more, perhaps, reading the news but not sharing it. Perhaps it's the algorithm, perhaps it is whatever it is, but, we're finding ourselves in a world kind of like the war in Ukraine, kind of like all of the other things that happen globally and locally. The media takes hold, everybody knows about it, there's a scuffle, there's something to disagree about, and suddenly it falls by the wayside. But we can't allow it to fall by the wayside, because there's still 100, give or take, 100 of ours held captive. One hostage is too many. 100 cannot be forgotten. In this week's Parsha, this week's Torah portion, talks about laws. And when we think about laws, we think about government. And when we think about government and politics, well, we already know where that goes. None of us like it, yet all of us, a lot of us, I won't say all of us, this is not correct, yet a lot of us find ourselves debating, getting aggravated, losing sleep, having resentment and anger towards whatever's going on in the world with the leaders of the people of the world. And so the judgments that we have, mishpatim is laws, and we're taught not to judge. As Jews, we're not supposed to judge. As humans, we shouldn't be judging. And yet, all at the same time, it's all we do. Every single day, all day long, we are judging, whether in a positive light or a negative, we are doing it. And some of our judgments will affect other people, and some will be impactful, and some will tear others down. But in this week's Parsha, Torah lists over 50 judgments that are pretty clear and straightforward. How to treat people, particularly workers, often people who depend on our fairness and kindness. There are judgments about criminals and how they should be treated based on the committed act. One of the laws or rules or judgments that stands out always every time I read this Parsha is that you shall not oppress nor do any wrong to strangers, for you are a stranger in the land of Egypt. It reminds me at the core of who we are as Jews. We have proclaimed it, we have owned it, and yet here we are still trying to hold on. We're still floundering, flopping around. That our people have persevered through the most troubling times. And I'm not talking only about the Holocaust. Look at the times that we're in right in this moment. Kids on college campuses. Anti-Semitism that is everywhere, globally. A massacre that took place on October 7th, and all of the repercussions that have yet fallen on our people continually around the globe, not just in one marginalized area. And from that, we've become a people of hope. And with yesterday's news, it's hard to remain hopeful. The truth is, we had some lay leader speakers about their commitment and recommitment to Judaism. And our very own Darren Burke shared his from our congregation, and other congregations had other speakers. And somebody spoke about something that, really resonated with me, which is Israel really never was a part of who I was as a Jew. And I, too, very much had that perspective, though I've been there multiple times, though I'm Jewish, though I'm a rabbi, though Rabbi Jay is, if his whole family would move to Israel, he'd live there. It's his home away from home. It's where he loves to be. If he can be there, he's there. But I never had that same commitment to the land, to the place, to the people, of course. And the program on Monday talked about praying, mourning the lives of all 1,400 plus people that had died, and how we were going to recommit. And so while this week's Parsha is definitely, the political spiel about leadership as it pertains to laws and rules, I found myself sitting in Monday night's program and then yesterday's news, and here we are a day later, thinking to myself, why am I committed to this cause? Because Israel, for me, was, yes, the Jewish homeland, but it wasn't something that was part of my core. Judaism, of course. The Jewish people, Am Yisrael, all of that, yes. But the land itself, not against it, but not for it. And over the last few days, I've been questioning why it wasn't and why it is now. And I think I've come to realize that why it is now and the why it wasn't. Why it wasn't, I think, strictly had to do a lot with, almost all with, the politics, the laws, the mishpatim, the situations, the scenarios about judgments and laws that we learned last week in last week's Parsha Yitro about leadership and when to pass the baton, when to involve others to help you. And I think the biggest problem I had was with that, with the judgments, with the laws of this week's Parsha, which is the government of Israel. And I still struggle with it in these times, and I struggle with our own government. And I think about those words, about caring for the oppressed. Well, now our people are oppressed. And now it's time for us to stand up and to continue to speak out and call out, to have the conversations. A dear friend and congregant was at work yesterday. She was wearing the tape with the numbers on it, 123, today's 124, 123 on it. She's been doing so every day. And she wears the tag. It says, bring them home. and co-workers that she's been working with for however years, but certainly since October 7th, they're questioning what that tape is about. And granted, they're not Jews, but people have no clue what's going on in the world. And we must remember that people are constantly judging us as Jews, and we are judging them. But what we need to put in effect is the rules, the judgments, the laws, the mishpatim for ourselves. That we are significant people, and our judgments of ourselves first, our people, the livelihood, the healing, the love for our people, for our land, for our future, for all to come is so important in this moment. That we have to lift ourselves up from the dust to remain hopeful, to remain connected, to remain people of abundant love, acceptance, and hope. We are one human family, one heart of abundant love. We love you. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. We look forward to seeing you, God willing, each and every morning. But we hope and pray that you will be with us in person on Friday night. We pray, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Please bring them home. Bring them home today. Have a good day, everyone.